When you create an online store with Woocommerce and Elementor, your pages are going to look something like that. And this looks pretty basic. What if we can turn this design into something like this? That is much, much better. If I scroll down here, you can see that this is a custom design. I show you step by step how to create this, and even this video here at the bottom of our design. Now take a look at this. Now this is a totally different product. When I look at this, this is a pair of shoes. It's showing here on the top, and all our designs are going to be consistent. So Elementor and Woocommerce can be very, very powerful if you're creative. I want to show you how I managed to create this product layout using Elementor and Woocommerce step by step. And by the way, if you haven't purchased Elementor yet, please do so by using my affiliate link in the description below. I would really, really appreciate it. All right, let's not waste a lot of time. Let's dive in and let's get started. All right, so first things first, to set up our store, we're going to need a plugin called Woocommerce. So to install it, you want to come over here to plugins, and then you want to search for Woocommerce. Now, in my case, I've already gone ahead, downloaded it, and activated. So you can see here, it is activated. Now, once you activate it, you're going to see an entry over here on the left, which says Woocommerce, and it also has products. So let's go ahead and let me show you how to add a brand new product in your shop. So I'm going to come over here and hover where it says products, click on add new. I'm going to give this a product description like that, and I'm also going to give it a title. I'm just going to grab some dummy text over here and just paste it like that. And then we're also going to need a price. So this is going to be, let's say, $1,299 like that. But also we can add it as a sale. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's say the sale price is $999. Now, inventory, this is where we can get to specify how many products are in stock. And if this is a feature that you'd like, this also is pretty cool. So this is a drone. So I'm just going to say DRN 001 as my SKU number. All right, so in stock, that's cool. So here we can check this box that says track the stock quantity. So let's say there's about 19 in store. Fantastic. The next step now is to come over here to the right side where it says product categories. So if you want, you can just add your category here by clicking on this plus button. So I'm going to say tech stuff. So I'm just going to say tech, okay, like that. Create a new category. And then the next step is to add my featured image, because this is what really sells our product. If our customers can see the image, that is pretty cool. So let's add our image by coming over here to product image. So I already have an image here in my downloads folder, but in your case, you want to add your images from perhaps maybe a camera or whatever it is. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag and drop it here in my media library. So as you can see, it's downloaded. It's a drone. I'm going to set my product image. Okay, we're almost done. We're also going to need a short description. So I'm going to copy the last paragraph here, scroll all the way down to product short description, and paste it over here. Okay, so now with that all set, over here, we also have the opportunity to add your gallery if you wanted to do that. But in this example, we're going to keep things very, very simple and not add the gallery. Okay, so now that I have this all set, there's also something you can add here, and these are tags. So I'm just going to add a tag called tech, click on add, and pretty much I'm good to go. I'm going to go ahead now and click on publish, and we're going to see what this looks like without a template. So let's go ahead and click on this link here. I'm going to open it in a new tab. And pretty much this is what it looks like. Pretty boring. It's not very exciting. And this is where the action begins. I really want to show you how to make your product pages really look awesome. So let's start by coming over here and going to the theme builder. So to go to the theme builder, you want to come over here to Elementor, hover over where it says templates, and click on theme builder. So when you install Woocommerce, it is going to install the extra themes that you're going to need to create in order for your shop to look very custom. So in this case, we have single product here. So let's go ahead and click on this plus button and design our product page. Now, we are not going to use any of these templates. We want to build ours from scratch. So I'm going to close out of here and let's start building. I'm going to click here on this plus button, and we are going to use Flexbox. This is the way, or the new way, of designing websites. And if you master Flexbox, you're going to be designing amazing looking websites. So this is what I'm going to show you throughout this tutorial. So let's start with Flexbox. I'm going to click over here, and the first layout, or the first structure we're going to need, is this one right here. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Next, I'm going to click here Okay, so what we're going to do here on the width, we are going to change this from pixels to percentage, and let's set this to 80%. All right, great. Now it's time to start adding all our content. So the first thing I'm going to do is to head over here to Style and go to our background. So I'm going to click here on Classic, click in here where it says Image. So this is the normal way you would add your images, but we want this to be added dynamically. So to do that, let's close out of here. You want to make sure you hover and click on Dynamic Tags. Now, once you click on that, go ahead and click on Featured Image. And in a moment, you're going to notice an image here appearing. So at the moment here, it says default. So let's set this to center. And now you can see our drone is now showing in the background. So we're not done yet because we also need to add a few more items in here. And the next step is to just come over here to our container and make sure we give it a height. So for our minimum height here, it's set to pixels, but we want to set this to VH. So this is your viewport height. So let's go ahead and set this to, let's say, 52%. So now we are revealing more of our product, and this is pretty cool. So with that now, let's start adding all our product titles and all the information that we need in here. So what I'm going to do, in fact, before I add all my other content, is to come back over here to Style. So over here, we want to make this image here a bit dark because our text is going to be light. So that is very, very important. Contrast is good in design. So let's head over now to background overlay. So this is where now we're going to click on Classic and we're going to add our color. So the color I'm going to add is black. Okay, so you're going to notice that just by selecting my color here, it's gone a bit dark, all right? But we need to increase it. Okay, so this is the slider. We can pretty much go to about 0.77, but we can test it out and see how other products are looking on our site. So let's leave it at 0.77, but in your case, this may be different. The next step now is to start adding all our text. So I'm going to click here on this plus button. So I'm going to drag our product title, drag and drop it. So as you can see, it's all the way to the top. So to fix that, we're going to come over here now, click on the container itself. And because we're using Flexbox, it makes it easy for us to center everything. I'm going to click on Layout, and then I'm just going to make sure that everything is centered. Now, what else do we need here? We may need perhaps, say, our breadcrumbs. So let's go ahead and add that. I'm going to click on this plus button, and let's look for our breadcrumbs. And here we are. Drag and drop it. Great. So while we're here now, I'm just going to go in quickly and set all my fonts. So this color here is not what I'm going to go with. I just want to go with white. So let's go ahead and fix that. So I'm going to come over here to Style and change my text color here to white, just like that. Next, I'm going to come over here to Typography, and we're just going to play with this a little bit. First of all, it's the size. I'm going to change this to EMs. I prefer using EMs. So let's start with 2, and I think that looks okay. And for my text here, the weight is, it's a bit too much. I want to set this to light. And then on the transform, I want to set this to uppercase. And we're also going to add our letter spacing. So let's just increase this. So this makes it look a bit really nice, clean. And then over here on the bottom, I'm also going to change my font here. And first of all, in fact, let me change my text color. So this is going to be a lighter gray because I don't want this really like popping out. So I want to make it a bit lighter. So I'm going to go with a lighter gray. And we are also going to change our font. So let's set this to Poppins, like that. Great. Should we make it caps? Now, this is something that you may want to do, but let's see what it looks like. Yeah, I think we can go with caps. And this time for the letter spacing, I'm just going to add just a little bit. Yeah, I think that works. Okay, so my main hero area now for our product is looking great. So don't forget, if you want to make your website look professional, it needs to look great on all devices. So let's fix this hero area right away. So I'm going to click here on this tablet view. And as you can see, this is not looking very great because I would rather have this centered. Okay, so with the tablet selected, let's head over here to alignment and center it. And we also need to do the same to this text over here on the bottom. Again, we're going to center it. And then we're going to come over here to our phone. And as you can see, our text is way too big. This needs to be sorted out. So I'm going to come over here, go to Style, and then we're going to go to Typography. So this is where we're going to set our size. It's set to pixels. Ideally, I would rather have this in EMs. So let's try 1. And okay, let's try 1.2. Yeah, I think that looks great. And now we're also going to add our line height. So let's increase this a little bit. So here you just add it and then see what looks great. So I think 1.6 is okay. And then over here, we're also going to reduce the size of our text here. Again, let's set this to EM. And this time, this is going to be 1. No, that's too much. So again, let's set this to 1.8. Now, as I mentioned before, you want to go in and test and see what works better. So I'm going to go with 1.7. And the height of this is a bit too much here on our mobile. So I'm going to go to our layout and make sure that this is decreased from 50 to about, let's go with 32. How about that? And then for our tablet, let's reduce this from 52 to about 42. I think 42 looks great. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So it's very, very important that as you're designing, you want to go in and make sure that everything looks great on all devices. All right, so let's go back to our desktop view and let's continue on. This time I want to add my Flexbox container, and we are going to add our content in such a way that we have our image on the left and then our description on the right. So we're going to add 2 containers, clicking here on this plus button. I'm going to search for container and then drag and drop it. Now I know I'm going to need 2 of these, so I'm going to right click and duplicate this. So now I have 2 containers inside this main container. So in this main container as well, I'm going to need some breathing space around it. So once I've clicked on it, I want to come now to advanced and set my padding. So the first thing I usually do here is to break the chain, change this from pixels to %, and then I'm going to set my top to 6 and then my bottom to 6. So now I have 6% padding to the top, 6% padding to the bottom. This just gives my design some breathing space. Now I also know I'm going to need to have my image on the left and then my description on the right. So I might as well change my direction by coming back over here to my layout and then setting it like that. So now I have these 2 containers like that. Okay, so now let's start adding all our content by clicking on this plus button at the top. I'm going to need an image, so I'm going to drag and drop it. So now you can see my product image has gone in. Next, over here, we're going to add our description and all that stuff that relates to our product here. So I'm going to start off by adding my product title, drag and drop it, just like that. Next, we're going to need, let's say our pricing. Click on this plus button. Now let's look for our pricing. And here it is, drag and drop it. We're also going to need, let's say reviews. Click on this plus button. Let's drag and drop them like that, just below my pricing. Okay, so the next step now is to add a divider, because the next content I'm going to add is my product description. So I'm going to click here on this plus button and let's search for our divider. And here it is, drag, drop it. Now this color comes in very, very dark and we don't want that. So let's reduce and make it a lighter gray. So I'm going to click on style, come over here to color, and then I'm just going to drag my slider here. So at the moment, I'm just eyeballing this to see what color I have. And I think I'm going to be happy with that. And I'm also going to reduce the gap. So I'm just going to drag this all the way down like that. Now it's time for me to add my product description. Click on this plus button. And I'm going to search for my product description. And here it is. Drag, drop it just below the divider. Okay, so this is looking great. Now, while I'm here, I might as well go in and change the font. So I'm going to change this from our default here to Poppins, like that. Excellent. Now, the color as well is a bit too dark, so I want to change that to a much less dark color. So I want to go with that, 58, 58, 58. So the next step now is to add my Add to Cart button. So I'm going to click here on this plus button. And here's my add to cart, drag and drop it. Okay, this button here does not fit very well in this design. So I'm going to go in and change it. Now, this is the advantages of creating a template. You can go in and customize pretty much anything that you want in here. So let's go ahead and do that. So first of all, I'm going to come over here to our button. Okay, border type, I want to set this to none. Border radius 0, because we don't have any rounded corners in our design. And for our padding here, let's set this to about 16. Now it's time to change our colors. So for our text color, I'm going to set this to white background color. You can choose whatever color you want here for your button. You can make it red so it really stands out, or you can make it even black, but you have to use a color that's from your color palette. All right, so now that I have that, we also have this view card. So I'm going to leave that as it is and change my button text color. So let's go back here to the top. So like I said, we're going to change this to Poppins. Oops. Oh, here we go. Poppins. And select it. And I'm also going to change the size from EMs. Let's set this to 1. See what that looks like. And for the weight here, in fact, let's try the transform first. Okay. So this is really standing out. I really like that. So let's increase the size a little bit here, 1.2. So I'm also going to go ahead and add another divider here. So I'm going to click on this divider and duplicate it. So you want to right click and duplicate, and then just drag it into position right below there. Excellent. So what I'm going to do next is to add my share icons. But the way I'm going to add them is I want my text and my buttons next to each other. So we're going to need a container inside this container here. So for us to see where the container is, I'm just going to go in and add a very subtle gray color here so we can see where we are. So I've clicked here on this container. So I'm going to come over here to advanced, and then we're going to come all the way down and look for our background. Okay, so I think it's here in my style. So there we go. So for my background color, like I said, I'm just going to add a very subtle gray. Okay, let's go with that. Now it's time to add our container. I'm going to click here on this plus button, search for container, and then I'm going to drag and drop it just below that line. See where I'm dropping it? Right there. Excellent. So my container is within this bigger container. So now I can go in and add my content. So I'm going to start off by adding my text. So let's search for our text here and drag and drop it. So I'm going to say, share this, colon. And then I'm going to click on this plus button and we're going to search for our social media icons. And here they are. Drag and drop it just below the share this. And make sure they are within this container. And while I have this selected, I know I am going to need to have them side by side. So I'm going to click here on my container and then I'm going to change my direction here to horizontal. And now you can see they're side by side. And I also like them centered. So I'm going to go ahead now and center it just like that. So that's looking great. All I have to do now is to go in and customize my icons by clicking on this pencil icon. I'm just going to duplicate this one here. And so we can add maybe TikTok if you use TikTok. Okay, looks like TikTok is not there. Anyway, I'm just going to add a random one here. What do we have? Okay, let's add Pinterest. Insert. And now we have our 4 icons. All I have to do now is to go in and customize them. So I don't want them rounded. I want them square. And then on the style here, I can play around with the size. So let's change the size here, make them smaller. So let's go with 12, a little bit of padding. So I'm looking at my icons as I'm making these changes. So I think 0.6 works. And then for the spacing, I think 6 works. Okay, so that's looking great. For my share icons, the last thing I need to add here is my additional information. So this is a choice. I mean, you can add this or you can leave it out. It's all up to you. But let's go ahead and do that. So let's find, okay, here it is. Additional information. And this needs to be outside the container. So you can see here that this is our container and this information here is outside the container. So I'm going to go in now and change the size. So click here on typography. I'm going to change my size here from from pixels to EM. So let's set this to 1.4. Yep, I like that. We're going to change our font. Set this to Poppins. Great. All right, so I'm happy with that. All I have to do now over here is to just make sure I add a bit of padding inside. So let's go ahead and do that. Come over here to advanced. Change this from pixels to percentage. And I'm going to set this to about 3%. I think that's a bit too much. 2%. All right, finally, I just need to go in here and change my color for my heading. So let's head over to style, change my color here like that. And I'm also going to change my typography. This bold here doesn't look great. I'm going to change this to light, reduce the size a little bit. Okay, let's go with 1.6. So let's change this to 1.6 and let's make it all caps. And then we're going to add some letter spacing. Yeah, I think we need to increase the size here to maybe even 2. How about that? Okay, so all I have to do now is to increase my line height, change this to EMs, 1.3. Okay, let's set this to 1.2. Yeah, 1.2 works. All right, so I'm still looking at this size here. I think that's a bit too much. Let's set this to 1.8. Yeah, and the letter spacing is a bit too much. Let's bring this down a little bit to about 2.8. All right, so now let's go to the pricing. Change the pricing here. Again, it's the color that we need to play around with. And we are going to set it to 3B, 3B, 3B. Typography. This bold here is not working. Let's go to light. That's looking great. Change this from pixels to EMs. Okay, so that is looking great. And I really like this, this area here. Now you can further customize this. You can add a video in here. You can add all sorts of things to make this look the way you want. All right, so let's continue on and add more content to our page here. So I'm going to click here on this plus button. Again, we're going to choose Flexbox and we're going to choose our structure. This time I want to distinguish this container here with the bottom one. So the quickest way or the easiest way to do this is to go in and change the background color. So I'm going to come over here to my style and I'm going to make this a very subtle gray, something like that. Okay, and while we're here, we might as well add our padding. So I'm going to go to advanced, break the chain, set this to percentage. And remember, on the top one, we used 6%. So we're going to do that as well. So we're going to use 6% top, 6% bottom. All right, so that's looking great. Now let's add our containers. Click here on this plus button. And I'm going to start off by adding additional information. And here it is. No, in fact, you know what? I need to add, where is it? The tabs. Oh, there we go. Drag and drop it. All right. So there's a bit of work that needs to be done here. We need to go in and change our font, maybe even the background. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to come over here to advanced and we are going to start off by adding our padding, but let's do it in percentage. So let's go with 3%, see what that looks like. Yeah, I think that works, 3%. So let's start off by adding a dark color in the background and see how this design is going to work out. So this is about experimentation and seeing what really works. So here for our product description, we're going to go with something dark. But you know what? I don't think that works. So let's go with something subtle. So all I have to do now is to come in here and play with my colors. So for my border radius, set it to 0. And then my fonts here need to be changed. So at the moment, they're set to default. So I'm just going to set this to Poppins. And now you can see that has been updated. Set my size. Okay, so as you can see, my text here is updated. I've made it match with pretty much all the text on my page by changing it to Poppins. The next step now is to add a testimonial here because I think it helps sell our product on this page. So let's go ahead and do that. So to do that, we need to click here on this plus button and search for testimonial. And here it is. I'm going to drag and drop it below here like that. And right away, I think I need to go in and give this some breathing space. So I'm going to come over here to advanced and we're going to change this padding from pixels to percentage. I'm sure you can see what's happening here. I prefer using percentages because it really wraps around very well in other devices. So let's set this to, let's try 3. I think 3 works great. And while we're here, we're going to go to our background here and make the background dark or at least a bit darker so it really stands out. So let's go with something like that. Okay, I'm pretty cool with that. And we also need to add our image. So we're going to come to our content and let's choose our image. Now, I so happen to have an image here in my media library, but in your case, you need to upload it by coming over here to upload files, find it on your computer and then upload it. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit select and you can see now this has been added. So over here, our text is not easy to read. We need to fix that by coming over here to style. So what we need is our text color, make it lighter. Contrast is very important in design because you want to make sure that people read all your content much, much easier. Next, we're going to come over here to the name. So for our name, we're going to change again the color here like that, very subtle. Typography, change this. So you can see I like using EMs. So we're going to go with 1.2. We might even make it all caps. Yeah, I think that looks great. And then we're going to add a bit of letter spacing. And then we have our title. So let's go in and fix that as well, because you can see here the typography is not working. It's taken on a totally different font. So let's keep this uniform by using pop-ins. And that's looking great. And again, for the size, 1 EM. Okay, so that's looking great. The next step now is to just make sure that these items are side by side. So again, I'm going to click here on my main container, and then we are going to change the direction by coming over here to layout. Change my direction, and boom, just like that, all my content now is side by side. So that's looking great. The next step now is to make this mobile friendly. So if I just click on this little button here, it gives us an idea of what it's looking like so far. So as you can see, our content here looks great, but we need this to be mobile friendly. So let's test this out and see what it looks like. Okay, so for the tablets, let's change things around. It's also good exercise that you see how things look like as we are designing them. So over here, I'm going to choose the column direction and change it. So now I have my product here on the top and then the description here on the bottom, and that's in that view. Okay, pretty cool. Next, we're going to go to the bottom part, and this seems to have worked, but you know what? I'm going to change this so that my testimonial here is on the top. So let's reverse the column and boom. Now my testimonial is on the top, my description is on the bottom, and this also applies on mobile. So there again, that's what it looks like. And I think this looks pretty cool. I may want to change the column gap. You can see here, it's set to 0. I think that looks great. So on this page, we can also add related products, or we can even make this more exciting by adding a video that showcases this product over here. So let's make it fancy and add a video. So I'm going to click here on this plus button, and we're going to go with our structure here. So the first thing I'm going to add is my text. So let's click here on this plus button, search for our text, and then we're going to drag and drop it in here. Now remember, we added our padding, so we're going to come over here and add our padding. So for our padding, we are going to break this and set this to percentage. And remember, it was 6% on the top, 6% to the bottom. And now we are going to customize our text, center it. But you know what? For our video to really stand out, it needs to be on a dark background. How about that? So we're going to click here, go to style, or is it, yeah, style. And let's add a dark background, okay? And then we're going to add a video. Let's drag and drop it in here like that. So what you want to do with this video here is to just make sure that you have a link from YouTube, okay? So this is where you add your link over here. And if you are using Vimeo, for example, this is where you would select it and you can set it to autoplay. But what I'm really looking for is my image overlay over here. So I am going to activate that and then choose my video. So let's say the video here is going to be, let's try this and see what that looks like. Yeah, so let's say she's showcasing the drone, which is our main product here on the top. We are now going to customize this play button by coming over here. In fact, we have our icon here. We can upload our own, or we can use what we have here. So let's go ahead, and we can even set it as a light box, by the way, so that when someone clicks on it, it pops out and that's how it's going to play. But we're not going to mess with that. Let's keep things simple. Over here on the style, for the play icon, let's set our size. So let's bring it up to about, let's go with 80. I think 80 works fine. And here we are going to add our title. So let's call this a drone version 5. How about that? Now we can go in and change the styling. So again, I want to go with a lighter gray. But what I really need here is the letter spacing, because letter spacing sometimes just makes things look really awesome. Look at that. So we're going to go with 10. Yeah, I think that works. But the size here, we may need to reduce it a little bit. Okay, drone version 5. And let's try light. And we may also need to add a description here so that this makes a lot of sense, because that text there doesn't really make it stand out properly. All right, so let's center our text here by coming over here to style, center it, and we're also going to make it easier to read by increasing the contrast. Just a little bit like that should work fine. All right, so finally, let's add our size. Oops, let's go with EMs. Let's go with 1.2. And for our width here, we're going to set this to custom. And let's set this to percentage. So we're going to go with, should we try 70? Yeah. All right, and centered. Pretty cool. So I'm going to save this now. So this is going to be our template for our product. But I've just added this video here just to show you that we can add as many things as we want over here. We don't really have to stick to your standard layout like what we have here on the top and the bottom, but this is a custom-made product page. So now that I have this, I can now publish it. Now it's very important that we add the condition here as well. So I can click here on add condition, and this is set to products, but we can actually set this template here to target a specific category. So that means that if we're selling drones, we can have the video here showing for the drone products, right? And if we have, let's say, watches or shoes, we can have a separate video. So this gives us so many opportunities to come up with our awesome designs. So I'm just going to keep things simple, set this to product, and that's our condition. Click on save and close. All right, so this is the moment of truth. Let's take a look and see what our template looks like when we open pretty much any product. So I'm going to try this one here with a watch. Click on view, and boom, just like that. You know, we have our main image here showing on the top, and our design here looks really cool. So as you can see here, this will show the actual product. It doesn't really matter what product you add. This is what is going to be featured here on the top. And when we scroll down here, we also notice that we have our review here, and we also have our product description. And then on the bottom here, we have a video that showcases this product. So there you have it. Thank you all for watching. If you like this tutorial, please give me a thumbs up. And also don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification. By doing so, you'll be notified when I release new tutorials. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.